What up, my funk soul brothers and sisters? Welcome to this week's episode of Video Ferox, where we find ourselves knee-deep in Blaxploitation History Month. What are we watching tonight? We're watching the sequel to the Blaxploitation classic, Blacula Scream Blacula Scream. No, it's over here. I should grab the disc. Scream Blacula Scream. So let's roll the trailer and we'll get right down to it, you jive turkeys.
Who dares touch these rotting bones? Who dares call forth the most horrible specter of the damned? Now he's back. The Black Prince of Darkness, Blacula, recalled by the awesome powers of voodoo to stalk the earth in a new quest for blood. Blacula, Dracula's soul brother, seething with hate, obsessed with vengeance, craving young bodies, lusting for hot blood to create new victims for the legions of the undead.
And with evil vampires. Good. That gives you something of an edge over the rest.
William Marshall, again, as the Lord of the Vampires, in a relentless search for Pam Grier, the exciting star of Coffee.
I need you!
Now he is back. Ever more evil, ever more fearful than ever before. Scream Blacula Scream, the bloodiest legend of our time.
Alrighty, motherfuckers, that was the trailer to Scream Blacula Scream from, oh crap, I can't remember the years, 1973, I think it was?
73. 70, yeah.
It was a year after the first Blacula movie. They rushed this into production pretty quick. It's got, of course, William Marshall back again, as Blacula. It's got Pam Grier, this is like her early days. She did I think Coffee right before this, but she's still really low down in her CV. And it's directed by the guy who did Count Yorga movies.
Yes.
And so he's not familiar with Blaxploitation, but he is familiar with the horror genre.
Getting the vampire stuff in, he does it well.
Oh, the Count Yorga movies are really, really good. Did you like Scream Blacula Scream?
Yes, I liked Scream Blacula Scream. And I need to say something. Michael Medved, you and your brother are a couple of... What? Worst Blaxploitation movie ever?
Okay, let's give that a little bit of context. The Golden Turkey book that he and his brother did in about this time, this was the book that put Plan 9 from Outer Space on the map as the worst movie ever made.
Yes.
Which is also bullshit. But in this book, they mention that Scream Blacula Scream is the worst Blaxploitation movie ever. And in a world where Dolomite exists, this is physically impossible.
You darns... Yes. I'm like...
This
Dolomite?
movie is fucking good. It's as good, at least as good as Blacula. And if you go back to our Blacula review, I fucking love that movie.
Yes. You have an opening act, middle act, closing act. That's how movies are done. And the strengths of each act kind of trade off back and forth as they go. They're both good films.
All right, we've absolutely convinced you that we fucking love this movie, so let's just get on to the spoilers so we can actually tell you about the flick.
I am your father.
Anyway, when we last left Prince Malawalde, he had his love of his life, Tina, killed, and he's like, I can't go on anymore, and he goes up and kills himself in the sunlight.
Yes.
So we open here with Scream Blacula Scream, and it's this voodoo, West African black magic and that is voodoo. There's actually a difference.
Yes, there is.
Voodoo is actually what you would get in New Orleans.
Yes. They sort of tiptoe around it. They say occult way more often than anything else.
The one thing I thought was interesting about the movie was that the way that they portrayed voodoo, and this might be an artifact of the black audience and the demographic, and how that voodoo is a black
religion.
And usually in movies, it's voodoo, bad, Christianity, the acceptable religion, good. And they actually portrayed voodoo as kind of a, well, it was a source of problem because it brought Blacula back, but it was also a curative. It was a good thing.
Yeah.
So they actually came at it kind of respectfully.
Yes. Other than the sinister element from the Ragman earlier in the film, where this guy has managed to acquire the bones of Blacula and has just held on to them. These might be handy. And here comes somebody Willis, who is apparently very pissed off, power hungry, and not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah.
Here, have fun.
Well, if you think about it logically, the cult rejecting Willis is absolutely 100% the correct move because Willis is obviously a power-hungry asshole.
No, it's not a bad guy religion. There is a bad guy, a part of the religion, but it's not a bad religion.
Anyway, so there's this voodoo cult, and the high priestess has just died. And she named Pam Grier as her successor.
Everybody is already on board and assumed she's the successor. And the son, in his first movie appearance, Richard Lawson, he's the son, and he's pissed. No, it's mine. I'm in charge. And everyone's like, no, you're not.
Oh, hell no. It's her. It's Pam Grier. We're going to go with her. So Willis, he's all super pissed at Pam Grier, and he storms off in a huff. And the rest of the cult is like, no, get the fuck out of here. So he finds this ragman, and the ragman's like, hey, man, you want some power? You want the real McCoy? You want to get back at those motherfuckers? Come over here. And I've got this bag of bones that happen to belong to Blacula. You want them? And he's like, absolutely. And he goes and does this voodoo ritual and basically resurrects Blacula.
And I like how there's a little bit of a trade-off, because it's like he's working it, the bones catch fire, and the flames grow, and he's like, yes, and then the flames go out, and he's like,
well, that was anticlimactic.
Fuck, it didn't work. But it did.
Oh, it totally did. So he storms off, and he goes gets himself something to drink, and he's sitting, and I love the way the shot is composed. So you've got the kitchen over here, and the room that he was doing the ritual in over here, and you got the chair here, and he's sitting in the chair with his bottle of J&B or whatever, and he's drinking, and you would expect a exploitation movie to be flashy and an explosion of light and smoke and whatnot. No, it's just this sinister shadow on the wall behind him just kind of appears. It's like, oh shit, it's on now.
When Blacula comes back, he's fully dressed. And they're doing so in the shadow, you can see the points of the cloak and all of that. And immediately, oh, he's back.
And, if you're going to get hung up on wait a second, why is a bag of bones, in fact, turning into a fully dressed black dude? It's like, then this is the wrong fucking movie for you. Okay, I mentioned this in the Blacula review. I absolutely love how Mama Walde runs around as your typical vampire. He's got the collar, he's got the big cape, and he's got the tux, and when you think of Bela Lugosi and Christopher Lee, this is what he's dressed like.
Yes.
However, everybody else in the 70s, nobody notices because they've got big collars and fur and pimp hats and pimp canes, and they're like, he absolutely fucking blends in. Again,
it's disco.
It's disco. And then what happens is that after Blacula comes back and turns Willis and goes out and comes back, Willis has found one of Blacula's capes and is running around with this big collar, but he's wearing his pimp clothes.
And then he goes to check himself in the mirror, and he's like,
What's up, blood? How am I can't see myself? How's a guy fly like me supposed to see, myself in the mirror when I can't see myself in the mirror? And Blacula, he's sitting in the chair, like just watching, just absolutely no-selling this. He's like, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. Without saying a goddamn word.
And Willis, in the silence Blacula delivers in return, Willis is like...
Because Willis made the prime mistake of, I've resurrected Blacula, I don't control Blacula. Oh no. So Blacula goes and does his own thing.
Yeah. He says, you will... how does he put it?
Your only justification for crawling on this earth is to serve me. Understand me well. If you ever dare to disobey, I will slice into your chest and pull your worthless life out.
And Willis is just like, fuck.
It's an interesting take because in the original Blacula, okay, Blacula has always been this sympathetic character. Prince Mamuwalde has always been, I just want to get rid of this curse, or I just want to find Tina, find the love of my life, and live with her forever. And so when he comes back in Scream Blacula Scream, he's a lot more mean. He's really pissed at like Wade, at the pimps that he later, and like the thralls when he vampires people out, and he gets this army of thralls, and he's like, you are all pieces of shit, basically.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting take, and I think the reason why is because he basically has nothing to live for. Tina's dead.
Yep.
He didn't want to be resurrected, and he's back, and it's like, motherfucker, I just dealt with this. What am I doing back?
Yep. My impression was it's almost an infatuation to Lisa, like she's a kindred spirit, like she's reluctantly a part of what she is a part of, but because she always comes across a little bit timid, a little bit mousy, like I'm a part of this cult. I've been named the successor, but...
It's interesting that you bring up the mousy aspect of Pam Grier. Throughout this movie, she is very timid. And you go into this movie thinking, okay, it's going to be Pam Grier. She's going to be an ass kicker. She's going to be doing kung fu and machine guns and have her titties out. Absolutely none of that is here. You don't get coffee. You don't get Foxy Brown here.
No, you don't. She's actually showing that she's got the ability to act. How did I put it before we started shooting? She's always an angry black woman.
But here she has subtlety. She has nuance to her character.
Yeah.
The acting throughout this movie, okay, fucking William Marshall is I will still stand by my assessment that he is as good a Dracula as Lee and Lugosi is.
Yes.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but he was in Star Trek. He was the fucking king of cartoons, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. Impeccable. But Pam Grier, she's excellent. And Willis, I thought, was really good.
Mm-hmm. Especially since that Richard Lawson, who plays Willis, it's his first movie. And it's like his first movie, and it's this. And we've seen a lot throughout the core go-to Blaxploitation films. You see actors who are their first time in a movie.
Isaac Hayes, who, first time acting in Truck Turner, not very good. I mean, okay, Isaac Hayes is charismatic, so he carried the film, but you can kind of tell he's really rough as hell. You don't get any of that here.
No, you don't. Basically, it's a really good first outing for him.
So one of the themes that runs through both Blacula and Scream Blacula Scream is there's a lot of slavery and, the white man oppressing the black dudes. Typical of your Blaxploitation movies, but I mean, it's really made explicit here. Blacula was turned by Dracula because, it's like Mama Walde goes to him and it's like, hey man, slavery sucks, can you do something about it? And Dracula, being an asshole, is like, fuck you, I'm a racist, turns Blacula. But then we get scenes like in Scream Blacula Scream where he's walking along and the pimps are after a hoe propositions him and it's like, hey man, you want to get him? And Blacula's like, oh, I don't know what you're on about. And she's like, fuck you, you're crazy, I'm out of here. But then the pimps show up and they're like, why are you playing with our woman? And his line of,
You made a slave of your sister, you're still slaves, imitating your slave masters.
And then he kills him.
Oh yeah, the brashness, the arrogance, and the ego that these two have as they're challenging him. He turns and he's pushing back, and there's this slow, and then sudden, we're fucked.
And then there's the other scene where, like I mentioned, with his thralls. So he's assembled all his turned vampires together, and he's like, "Don't touch Lisa. She is under my protection. You touch her, and the suffering you will endure will be intense." And you can kind of tell that he has this look on his face of he's looking down on the people that he's been driven by his primal need to feed. He does not want to do this. And he's looking at these people, and you can clearly tell this, like, I am doing what the slave masters were doing to my people. I'm doing to these people. This really sucks. And he commands them, "Get away from me. Your presence sickens me. Go away."
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that theme of slavery and oppression in this movie.
Mama Welde comes upon an idea of, wait, Lisa has an ability. She can help me. But there's nothing in the dialogue or anything to tell you that. I've just, upon reflection and thinking about how the scenes follow one another, he hits upon the idea. It's there, but not spoken about in the dialogue.
And that's the one thing I've always loved about the two Blacula movies is that Mama Welde is a very sympathetic character. He doesn't want any of this. He never wanted any of this. This curse of vampirism is a legitimate curse versus your typical vampire. Now I get to turn into a bat and fly around and bite me to hot chicks and blah, blah, blah.
He is just as much a victim as every other victim in the film.
And that goes right back into this is what a blaxploitation movie often portrays their heroes as.
Yeah. Don Mitchell, he's another one of those, of the black actors in Hollywood who actually does have a pretty well-established career. A lot of television time, some movies, and this is early-ish in his career, but he's playing the lead detective trying to sort out these deaths and weird shit. And he's also digging into the occult. He goes to a bookshop, he's reading books, and he's put it together that we're dealing with vampires.
For the story purposes, he is essentially in the Van Helsing role.
Yes. The person who he answers to, I don't think he's ever really called a captain or anything. But
Implied.
And he's another actor who you're going to recognize. He was in Hill Street Blues.
He was the "you be careful out there" guy.
Yeah, it's said every episode, hey, let's be careful out there. That's him. He's the cop. And he's like, vampires, are you serious? And then somebody from forensics or whatever walks in with a whole bunch of photographs, and you see the photos are
like empty stretchers and stuff.
Yeah, it shows two guys. They're physically, it looks like they're picking something up, but there's nothing there. It's just like, see? Everybody knows vampires can't be photographed. And it's like, oh, it's just faulty film. That's not faulty film.
How come everybody else is showing up in the goddamn thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the stretcher, but you can't see the body on the stretcher.
Of all the actors, he was probably, I wouldn't say he was weak, but he was the one that I liked the least out of the bunch. But even that, he had a couple of strong scenes with Blacula. There was that one scene where they had the I know you're a vampire, you know I know you're a vampire, but we're not actually saying that you're a vampire. And they're sitting there talking about so do you like the occult? Yeah, I'm into the cult a little bit. Well, have you heard about vampires? Oh yeah, vampires are very fascinating creatures, that sort of thing. And that interplay, they're saying without saying with the subtext.
It's a very well done Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Dracula versus Van Helsing dialogue from Hammer. It's long that, and it really has weight.
Yeah.
Because Marshall is kind of like, well, if it turns out they are vampires...
Yeah, you'll be the first one I'll call.
I wish you luck. Hey, it's getting late. I'm going to leave.
So even though he was my least favorite of the bunch, it was still strong in places.
Yeah. Our hero cop, Van Helsing, has convinced his boss, look, let's get let's get some guys, let's go check this out. And it's a day for night shot. And the one thing that I was disappointed with, here's another thing when it comes to day for night shots, is if you're going to sell a day for night shot, the headlights being turned on the cars.
It's always the shadows that kill it for me.
Yeah.
The strong shadows, and it's like, oh, well, whatever.
But you see, the 4 police cars show up, and okay, they're showing up silent. There's no sirens going. Okay, but all of them have their headlights out. And it's just like, all right, yeah, with the police trying to be sneaky, arriving on the property, not want anyone to know they're there, and have their headlights turned off, sure. They could have at least worked that into the scene, show the cop cars arrive and the lights turn off, but they don't even do that. It's just like...
Again, this is a movie that was shot in 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So the cops, they show up and they're all like, okay, well, let's go take care of vampires? And the Van Helsing starts passing out like wooden stakes that happen to be lying around.
Well, we should all take one of these. Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious.
It's fucking vampires, you idiot.
So everybody takes a stake and they wander into the house.
And that's where we get probably the biggest set piece of the movie, where there's an actual good bit of action where the vampires, and now Mama Walde at this point has been vamping lots of people all over the place, so he's got 20 people or so under his thrall. And so there's a lot of cops are looking around, they open a door, vampire, ah! And there's a lot of, the vampires sneaking along, and then the cop goes, ah! And stabs him with the stake, that sort of thing. Meanwhile, Mama Walde has convinced Lisa that, hey, you can do this, undo this curse for me. Let's go undo this curse. And so they go into the basement and they start doing the ritual, and she's doing the voodoo stuff.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the problem here is that, let's take the cops out of the equation for just a moment. So here's Lisa, undoes the curse, great, Mama Walde is back to normal. Surrounded by 20 vampires that are going to eat his ass stone dead.
Because he no longer
has control
over them.
And it's like, okay, it's not that type of movie, kid. Don't think about it.
So it gets interrupted. And it's like, look, we'll go someplace else, start over, do it again.
And meanwhile, Lisa's like, no, don't kill him, because she has a relationship with the Van Helsing. And it's like, no, don't kill him. We can start over. We can do this again. And Mama Walde's like, fine, you live because she said so, and throws him to the ground.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, then the cops, they didn't get the message, and so they show up and they start, opening up with their guns, and they start attacking him, and Blacula, who is full on Blacula at this point, just kind of throws him off railings, and basically starts murdering cops. And Lisa's like, no, don't, they're just cops, don't, and you can kind of see both sides of the argument. Mama Walde, absolutely frustrated, doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to exist, etc., etc., and Lisa, who's like, these are cops. No, don't kill cops. This is bad. Don't. And so, both sides have an argument.
This is the point where he firmly is in, because somebody has said Mama Walde to him, and he's like,
the name is Blacula!
It comes after Lisa says, no, I'm not going to do this now. You've killed the cops. I'm out of here. I'm done with you. And he realizes, I've just now lost the one thing that can cure me. I'm going to embrace my monster side.
Yeah.
I am now Blacula.
And Lisa picks up one of the crossbow bolts. The crossbow's been destroyed. She's like, okay, she's got the crossbow bolt. She's got the...
It's like a little voodoo doll. Basically, it's part of the ritual that they were doing, and it was Mama Walde's essence in there, essentially. Yeah. So it's a voodoo doll for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. She's already done the work of trying to draw... She has firmly established a physical connection between the doll and Blacula. And the man she loves is going to die if she doesn't do something. And she's like... crossbow bolt, stab the doll.
It doesn't do the instantly kills Blacula stone dead like you would expect. No, it just kind of sends him reeling into pain. And so she stabs it a couple of times, and he's lying there screaming to the heavens, ah, in pain. And that's when they cut to the end credits. This still shot of Blacula set in red, roll end credits. Ah, that is such an unsatisfying ending. Ah, god damn it.
Yes, and the whole thing is they've rolled the dice.
Well, because they were hoping to do Blacula and Count Yorga. AIP owns both properties.
Yeah, and it didn't happen.
We never got a third Blacula movie.
And it's sad because I think at this point, largely because from the first film and this sequel, Wallace has basically established his presence, not just as his abilities as an actor, his position. He actually had he has some control. It's like, I don't like doing this, let's do this instead, and they'd listen to him. So I think it really would have been great if they had managed to get to that third film, because Wallace would have went, okay, I'm in charge though.
Yeah. So, oh well. I'd ask you for a final thought, but I think your final thought would be, fuck you, Michael Medved, you're an idiot.
Yes, Michael Medved, you're an idiot.
All right, we'll catch you next week then. Alrighty, back into the grave with you, you foul beast. Next week, we're going to keep the public domain train a-rolling by watching the Bernie Casey classic, and I use that term very loosely, Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. So join us here for that. Drop me an email at thevideonastyproject@gmail.com, and until next week, stay evil.